And then KJ Wright was on Seattle Sports Radio, which I think he's doing like twice or three times a week now. And he talked about how weird it was to hear Pete Carroll talk about the Broncos win. How weird it was that he said he looked all the old guys in the eyes and just wanted to give them a hug. And this was not about proving himself, but this was like a, validation game and all these. And KJ Wright said Pete Carroll's usually like every day's a different championship week. Every game's the same, moving forward to the next week, kind of like all great coaches, right? The Bill Belichick on to Cincinnati type of stuff. Yeah. And all that is what Pete Carroll is kind of like. And is he really happy-go-lucky? And this time he was like, I did it. Like, I proved somebody wrong. It's like, I looked the old guys in the face. I'm so like validated. It is interesting, and it probably tells you a lot about what the locker room has been like for the last couple of years between him and Russ.
Right. Now, that's a great point and great point by KJ Wright and you. What the locker room has been like the last few years. And, a lot of times, and we tend to forget because he's been on the Seahawks for so long, Pete Carroll came, he was an NFL coach before, but he came from college. He came from USC. And this environment from the Seahawks from 2000, from the first year, whatever year Pete Carroll came, 2010, 11, till about 2017, 18, had a very collegiate feel to it. The last
program. He used to call it a program.
Yeah, the program, exactly. It had a very high collegiate program type of feel. Then the last few years, it's felt a lot of corporate, right? Like, I feel like Russell Wilson became the big man on the campus, and he was really more about the brand of Russell Wilson than the brand of the Seahawks. And I don't think anyone, whether you still like Russ or don't like Russ, I think it's very hard to argue otherwise, that Russ seemed a lot more about his brand than he was when it was a collegiate feel in his first few years, as he got more popular, as he become a better player, as he became a bigger focal point to the offense. So back to that, I feel like last week, Monday Night Football felt collegiate to me.
I'm going to agree and disagree a little bit. I don't think it was about Russell Wilson making it corporate. I think that's a little too much blame on Russell Wilson. I think it's the fact that in general in football, the big difference is, which maybe this problem might start happening in college football too, is but when people get paid, regardless if that person wants it to feel like college or keep a college vibe, just in general, when people get paid a lot of money, and this is what I'm worried about with like Archie Manning in Texas and people getting $10 million to go play at Alabama, it just does become more corporate. I don't really blame that on a single person because that's just kind of what happens. I feel like that's where it starts to be like that person is the guy that makes the decision. Now, this person is not only fighting for his life for an NFL contract. Now this person is doing commercials and he is corporate and he is being more careful.
To look at it.
Say that again.
It's a very fair way to look at it. Actually.
Yeah, so it's not Russell Wilson's fault. This happens to,
but it's way more fun to blame it just on Russell Wilson since he's like the ex-girlfriend left. It's so much easier.
I don't think so. I'm that person, and I said this before the game, said it after. My whole thing about Russell Wilson and the whole booing and all these things, I saw there's some arguments on Twitter, which I guess we could talk about really quick nextly. It's like do you boo Bobby Wagner like compared to Russell? Some people say if you boo Russell Wilson, don't you boo Bobby Wagner? And my whole difference here is, first and foremost, I said going into that game, you boo Russell Wilson, the person. Not as the person. You boo Russell Wilson,
I agree.
The football player, especially because he's playing against the Seahawks. Now, there's two things. I'm not rooting for or against Russell Wilson moving forward. I don't want to blame anything on Russell Wilson moving forward. I'm rooting for the Broncos to lose. I could care less if Russell Wilson wins MVP, but the Broncos give us a bad pick. Like, if Russell Wilson succeeds, that's great, but I just want them to lose because it's better for our picks. So for me, it's not about the person or anything. It's about he is kind of the ex, but like I don't care anymore, and I just wanted to beat him for that game. So it's like for me, I don't have much blame on Russ anymore. Like I do think him getting paid was part of the cultural problem that was happening. But in general, like for some reason, like I thought I'd care more that he's gone. I've kind of moved off of it already.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, but you would agree, right, that it has now become, it feels more collegiate on Monday than like it feels like back to 2010, 11 versus what it felt like the last few years.
Yes. And that's probably because we don't have that many big name guys on big contracts. Like DK Metcalf is 24 years old. So even though he got a big contract, it's like the dude is a year or two replaced from college anyways. Like he's like a normal 20, 25-year-old. So not normal, but he's 25. Like, you know what I mean? He's still young. So I think you have a lot of young guys in the locker room, which is helpful. You got a lot of no big egos. Even, you know, like you got a lot of just, even some of our best vets are Tyler Lockett's of the world, just like a good guy. He's not going to be drama. So it does feel a little more collegiate, but we do have a lot of like veteran pieces. I feel like there's like scattered around, like the Tyler Lockett. DK to me is a veteran because he's been there for like this third year. But
I think you know, they say like 70% of NFL players don't make it to the third year. So I think once you get to year 3, yeah, you're now a veteran in the NFL. I agree with that.
Especially with a team like the Seahawks.
He's on year 4. He's on year 4 now. So right, 4
exactly. Yeah. I think it is like 70% of people do not make it to year 3 even. Like not even past year 3. I think it's like past
year 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I think that's why people say veteran in the NFL like really quickly versus like the NBA. You have like a guy in his 3rd year and it's like he's literally still 20 years old.
Yeah, the difference is they have to be 3 years in college. They come to the league at 21, but by 24 they're a vet. NBA, you're in the league at 17. Like you got 10 years before you're like in your prime.
Exactly.
Like 10 years. So but there's a lot of vets. I wouldn't even say a lot. There's vets and there's some young guys. It's just a good mix and a good vibe. And I think the team, Pete Carroll said it before the season. I didn't know if it was just bullshit just to get people excited, but he said the vibe is good. Like the people are good. The way they mesh is good. And I think that's probably very true. I mean, like it seems like it was a happier environment. It seemed like people wanted to play for each other the other day more than the last 2 years where it felt, like you said, more corporate. So I'm happy about it.